Nashandi, a very good day to you and welcome to this special tribute show as we continue to pay homage to that is the late founding president, Dr. Sam Shafishuna Nujoma.
Good afternoon, and I'm happy to talk to you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. First and foremost, what was your initial reaction when you received the news of the passing of the founding president?
Well, of course, I think I was one of the luckiest person because the president used to be my neighbor. His farm at Tunda is not far away from my own farm. Every time he's there, he will call me or I will call him. Then we'll go and discuss. But the later days, I realized that he was not feeling very well. Obviously, as a human being, when one gets old, obviously the only chance is for one to depart. Of course, I was shocked, although, of course, it is a natural expectation.
Your fondest memories of founding President Nujoma? What was your first encounter with the late founding president?
Well, I met the founding president for the first time, to be exact. That was on the 26th of August 1974. That was during the 8th anniversary of the Ongulbashe battle. He came to address us at the old farm in Lusaka, and obviously after he addressed us, possibly maybe a week or so, we were selected to go for a military training to the Soviet Union by that time.
And what did you make of this man at that point in time?
Well, you see, we only used to hear about him, but once you have seen him, then you put together A and B about the image you used to have, and when you are seeing the person for the first time.
Absolutely. Of course, fast forward, Ambassador, you were amongst a couple of ambassadors, of course, tasked with establishing a number of diplomatic missions, a number of diplomatic relationships with other countries at the very onset, of independence. That was one of Namibia's more immediate tasks. Take us back to that time and how daunting a task this was here.
It's correct. I think some of us were much more fortunate because even before the independence of Namibia, personally, I served as a SWAPO chief representative to Libya and then North Africa. So in Libya, we were having what they call a diplomatic status. And after Namibia's independence, obviously went through a diplomatic, a training through an able Ghanaian diplomat, Ambassador Deborah. So from there, I was given a responsibility to go and open our mission in Stockholm. It was not so easy because I was given funds to buy for the country's properties, that is the embassy, as well as the house of the ambassador. Unfortunately, during that time, the economic situation was not so good. The dollar plummeted, and obviously I found myself that the money was not enough. So I have to do the explanation. But obviously it could be they could agree that it was not my personal fault. Obviously the properties I bought for the government were excellent because up to now, the chancery and the resident of the ambassador, they are still intact, and the resident ambassador is still using it.
And of course, from there, you went on to establish the next mission in Russia, in Moscow, to be exact, where you, of course, also served between 1991 to 1999. Take us back to that period once more.
It's correct, because I presented my credentials to President Gorbachev. That was in October 1991. Unfortunately, in December of that year, the Soviet Union ceased to exist. That's why up to now, I call myself the first and the last Namibian ambassador to the Soviet Union. It was not a very easy thing. After I've done my military training in the Soviet Union, when it used to consist of 15 republics, now they broke out. So you found that every republic was now on its own. The Russian Federation, which was the largest, I found myself there. And the economic situation was so bad. That's why I always tell people that during that time, you buy what you find, but not what you want.
What was the general, in your engagements, in your work in setting up, these missions, especially in countries such as Russia, for instance, in the early 90s, I can imagine, what was the general perception of the international community of Nujoma? I'm sure by then, much of the international community had known Nujoma. Of course, he had a number of engagements during the struggle, during the exile years, pardon me. Talk to us about the perception that the international community had of Dr. Nujoma and just generally what they made of him.
Well, of course, apart from the Russian Federation and other neighboring countries, which used to form the Warsaw Pact, say the Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, etc., Nujoma had a very high regard in those countries because it's where we used to send our students for political orientation. For instance, in Moscow itself, they used to have something they called a party school, of which many of our cadres were sent there for political orientation. I remember when we were doing our military training there, the President-elect of Comet Netumbo, she was also undergoing the party school during that time. Many diplomats, even in Moscow at that time, when they come to our mission, obviously, when they see the portrait of Nujoma, they consider that man being a freedom fighter. So we had quite a very good relationship with those countries.
Ambassador Nashandi, in your view, what do you think is the founding president, Dr. Nujoma's lasting legacy in the space of international relations and diplomacy?
Well, I can tell you, for instance, when I left Moscow in March 1990, because before that I have to go and pay farewell to my colleagues as ambassadors. I remember paying a courtesy call to the ambassador of Yugoslavia at that time. He was His Excellency Mirosevic, the brother to the then president of Yugoslavia. He promised to come and see me at the airport if the Americans did not bomb Baghdad. Unfortunately, Baghdad was bombed and he never came to see me at the airport. So thereafter, obviously, I went back home. And during that time, of course, I continued with my work at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and we continue to have such a very good relationship with all those countries.
Ambassador Nashandi, just in closing, as a family mourns, as a nation mourns, as a continent mourns, and as the globe mourns, what is your message to, of course, everyone out there as far as the legacy of founding President Dr. Sam Shafishuna Nujoma?
Perhaps to start with, because I've stayed for over 12 years in Libya, and President Nujoma knew about that. Every time we meet, he has to address me in Arabic. He will always say, Comrade Ambassador, cool quest. Then obviously I will answer that cool quest, meaning is everything okay? Of course, before I conclude, I just want to offer my condolences to the founding First Lady, Madam Kovambo, Comrade Tony Nujoma, who used to be my schoolmate, and obviously we were together in exile. But to the Namibian people, we should have that courage and follow the footstep the founding president has left for us.
Nashandi, thank you so much for joining us here, and we wish you all the best. Thank you for sharing your story with us here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
There you have it. Ambassador Nicky Nashandi, he, of course, a seasoned diplomat, having served in a number of posts from the onset of Namibia's independence. In 1990, he set up Namibia's mission in Stockholm, Sweden, and of course continued to Moscow, Russia, where he served as ambassador from 1991 to 1999. Of course, also jokingly calling himself the first and last ambassador to the Soviet Union following its dissolution in 1991. Now,